All right, guys, welcome to our review of The Penguin, Episode 3. It's titled Bliss. This will be a full-on spoiler review, as promised. For Episode 1, we did non-spoilers, then for Episode 2, and moving forward, spoiler reviews. On that note, smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications for future streams of our Penguin reviews. We are now monetized here in the channel, very exciting. Working on membership levels as we speak, as well as a separate Patreon. But for now, super thanks are much appreciated. You can find them on any and every video we post. Please let me know if you can or can't see them here in the stream. All right, let's begin. Again, this is a spoiler review of Penguin Episode 3, but starting off, as always, with some quick non-spoiler thoughts for Episode 3, then we'll jump into spoilers. Without burying the lead, this is my least favorite episode so far. I don't know if I'd say it's bad, but it just didn't do much for me. It's probably too early to say this, but thus far, after three episodes, this series has some diminishing returns for me. Episode 1 was easily the best. I think we can all agree, right? Episode 2 is okay. It was good, but not great. And then 3 is, again, my least favorite. Again, too early to say that as a whole for this series, because we still have 5 to go. And I did hear some, creators on the official HBO podcast, which, by the way, if you haven't listened to that, check that out. There's that, and then the Inside the Episodes. If you're interested in kind of behind-the-scenes content and interviews and stuff for Penguin, those are the two things. The Inside the Episode on Max runs right after, on HBO, runs right after this the exact episode. It's not like a separate file. So if you just keep watching the episode after credits, it will roll. So I heard an interview from people on that show once again. Episode 3 here is the end of the first act of the series. So I'm really hoping that means things will pick up moving into Act 2. All right, so some info from IMDb, and then we will get to spoilers. Episode 3 is titled Bliss. Script is by Noel Valdivia. Directed by Craig Zobel, who has directed all 3 episodes so far. And then our showrunner is always Laura LaFranc. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, as always, unbelievably. Kristen Milioti as Sofia Falcone. Then featured more than ever in this episode, we have Renzi Feliz as Victor Aguilar, who we'll talk about. Brief synopsis. Oz and Sophia must address the skeletons in their closet as they attempt to control the future of Gotham's drug trade, while Victor is torn between his new life and what remains of his old one. All right, so here's our spoiler walkthrough. I did a beat-by-beat walkthrough. I honestly don't know if I'm as thrilled, which is not too thrilled as the show is, from this episode. I don't know if I'm going to do a beat-by-beat thing again. It kind of took longer than I wanted, and I don't know if you're going to get much more out of the review from that, but we'll see how it works out for this episode, and we'll see how Episode 4 is. If I like it enough, we will do it, but as always, we'll still have like 20, 30-minute reviews, spoiler reviews for each episode. All right, so once again, spoiler walkthrough for Episode 3 for Bliss. So begins we open with a pretty long flashback, 5 or 6 minutes. I say it that way because I just thought it was a little long, of Victor's life before the big flood caused by Riddler's attack. So if you remember at the end of the Batman, he breaks the seawalls with those explosions, and then it's the flood that begins the setting of the show that we see here. It's pretty interesting, I thought, how they set it up, because they drop you right into it without saying anything. There's nothing on the screen that says, a couple weeks ago, whatever. You're just a part of Victor's life for 5 minutes. And then suddenly Riddler's bombs start exploding from Victor's POV. He watches his apartment get destroyed from another building, which is pretty badass, I'll say. And then cut to our Penguin title card. Again, it was an interesting setup. But for me, most of the scene really didn't work. Like, the actual contents of it didn't, and that's most of this episode, to be honest. Didn't really work. I think it's because they think this character of Victor they created is much more interesting than he really is. Like, we'll get to the character creation part in a minute, because I have other thoughts on that. I really don't think this character is close to as interesting as they thought he was. Sorry. I saw what they were trying to do with this whole prologue-y part in making us care for Victor, but, it gives us a crystal clear picture of how different this kid's life was before the flood. compared to now with Oz and everything that he's doing now. It is vastly different from what we saw before the flood. But the execution was, again, just not there. I don't think most of the actors playing his family and friends were good. I'm now thinking this is a performance direction issue, possibly, from this Craig Zobel guy, because he's getting good performances out of some of his actors, but then some, like the whoever plays Oz's mother, I don't have it in front of me, but she, I think, could do better if maybe there's some different direction, but I don't know, man. I'm not loving what's happening there, nor am I loving what's happening with pretty much the entire performance of all the people in this prologue part. The whole first 5 minutes honestly felt CW level performance, like not the production quality. So it still looks like the Batman, the Penguin. It's still the high level HBO, but performance like that could have been on CW. It was kind of that not good. But I had the same tonal / performance issue with episode 2. I was saying that it felt Gotham-y at parts, specifically with that dirty cop character hired by Sophia. So when he drops off that Irvide character at the Falcone Mansion, again, this is back in episode 2, later killed by Oz, that guy, it felt like a different show in terms of tone and performance. Like that really didn't work for me when he's tied up in the back of the SUV. The music, it felt very Gotham-y. I was not a fan of that. Anyway, back to this new character creation of Victor. And then we'll move on to our next scene. Again, this character is not nearly as interesting as you think. First of all, as I said before, it's a trope we've seen a million times in other movies. I said this on previous reviews. Like, I don't think it works great with this version of Penguin taking in the mentor. I'm on the rise, and I'm like a grizzled badass, but I have to take on, it's the Mandalorian. I heard even in that Elektra movie, she has to like babysit some kid. Why are we doing this in superhero content? And I don't know. It just really doesn't work for me. And it's also, this isn't even really superhero content, as we talked about. This is a gangster show. So I don't really think it works that well in a gangster way either. And I don't think it works great, as I just said, with this version of the Penguin. You're doing such a badass, not just the gangster thing that I just mentioned, but I don't know. It for this like Scarface type thing, I don't see how. Matt Reeves even said it's the French Connection meets Scarface. That's what he told the showrunners, because Matt Reeves from the Batman, he directed that, of course, and he's executive producing the show. So as one of the executive producers, that was the mandate. French Connection meets sorry, what the heck did I just say? I'm already hello. Sorry, I completely lost what I was saying. But anyway, it's like, how about French Connection meets Batman? How about some Batman up in there? Sorry, I'm still used to getting to going live. If I don't have everything in front of me, sometimes I freeze there. Moving on. I just think this is the point. It's like, why do you keep this is the greater, probably more important point. Why does anyone writing for this show feel the need to create new characters? Like, since when does the character of Batman lack in characters? At this point, I'm going to start having an entire segment of each review devoted to the Batman beef that I have. I just have to get it out of the way, then get back to evaluating the show once again for what it really is, which is apparently just a gangster series and nothing else. I mean, we're in episode 3 at this point. I was talking to somebody at the comic shop the other day, and they were like, they hadn't seen it, but I was telling them how little Batman there is in it for whatever weird reason. And he was like, why not, even if you never see him, just have guys get beat up, like mob guys get beat up, and then you have to go visit him in the hospital and be like, just keep reestablishing, we are scared of this Bat character. Why are we not scared of this Batman? Why are we not scared of the character who's supposed to be, as I said in my last review, striking the fear into criminals' hearts? That's the point of the character. Why is he not doing that in this post-Batman? It's days after a movie called The Batman. But fine. Sorry. Okay, fine. But having this stupid rule is not helping them in cases like this. So back to my notes here. It's like having this rule about it can only be it can't really touch I mean, even I heard again in the official podcast interview from, I think, the showrunner, and she was like, yeah, we couldn't do Cobblepot. We couldn't have the last name Cobblepot. It had to be Oz Cobb, because no one in the real world would have that. The real world of Gotham City. Since when is Gotham City a real place? It is not. So to be like Cobblepot is a name that no one has. First of all, I don't think that's true. And second of all, who cares? It's all God. You're just doing everything you can. Edward Nashton, not Edward Nygma. Oz Cobb. Even in the new Joker 2, I'm probably extra raw about all this because Joker 2 just came out. I will not see it. I haven't seen it. Don't plan on it. And other people have just keep saying that it has like nothing to do with the Joker. Oh, sorry. Somebody's commenting here. Here we go. Can I see the comment? Oh, I have to sign in. Sorry, you can't. Something toxic. This is 100% breaking all the records. Look, overall, I think it's good. If I'm reading that correct, again, I have to get used to going live here. But no, I like the series overall, but I have to evaluate it as a gangster series. It's not. You really can't say this is a superhero show. So, I mean, I guess you could try to say that, but I think we can all agree, at least on that it's not. So, and if you don't judge everything by just this episode's review, even though I don't like this episode. I loved episode 1, and I thought 2 was actually pretty good. And in fact, I thought it was better than this. I just, 1 episode out of 8, it's 8 altogether. Not too bad. But yeah, so back to, it's like this rule of not allowing Batman stuff in here is just hurting you. I mean, even the one very specific example, she's like, I wanted to create the character of Victor because I wanted to represent, she goes, I'm half Mexican and I wanted to represent Hispanic people. Great. You want Hispanic representation in the character of Batman. There's a little character named Renee Montoya. There's a bunch of stuff that you could pull from, I don't know, the Batman universe. Like, even do a Dark Knight callback, Ramirez. And I don't know if they created Ramirez for Dark Knight, but that was an Hispanic character in the world of Batman. I don't know. They just are doing so much, and it's just hurting them is the point. This is a case where it's hurting it. And here's like, what did I write here? You're creating new characters that frankly aren't that great. How long did you have to develop the show and create your characters? Like a few months, a year tops? So 85 years of Batman, 1 year for you. Yeah, it just breaks my brain why these people want more homework when it comes to character creation. Like, I listen to these podcasts, these interviews, I watch this stuff, and these people are very intelligent. They're going into all these details about these things where it's like, if you put a millionth of the effort into, I don't know, Batman stuff that you do into all these deep levels of, we wanted to, because the Batman oversees Gotham City, for example, this is one of the production designers, she wanted the world of Penguin to be like from the ground level. Very interesting stuff. So it's like, you're doing some comparison there, but we're not getting any references. There's no like, hey, we're scared of this guy. All right, rant over. Next scene. Oz's apartment. Sophia comes over to pick up Oz, but Oz has to secretly take a call with the Maronis in the bedroom. So we see there he's still playing both the Maronis against the Falcones, leaving Victor to awkwardly entertain Sophia while she waits for Oz. I think this scene had a lot more potential than it kind of. It was good. It was all right. Christine Miliotti's great. I don't think this Victor character. Maybe the actor would do better in something else, but I don't know. It's just not great. Sophia turns on Oz's electric fireplace / stereo, commenting it's tacky. I actually had someone gave me an electric fireplace, and I made a joke about it being tacky, and that wasn't the nicest thing to do, apparently. I've learned since, but I had my own funny experience with that. But not a nice thing to do to someone who's giving you a gift. Class structure of these characters, that's kind of another point, not only of this part in the apartment, but of this whole episode, is that you're seeing the different strata of classes in Gotham and how the flood, for example, affects people. And we went into that whole thing in the beginning with, Dad, you should get paid more. Victor talking to his father. Sophia in this case is, again, making fun of Oz's stuff. So even though Oz has a ton more money than Victor, for Victor, this place is like a palace, Oz's place. But then Sophia walks in and she already has her nose in the air. She grew up in a mansion. So it's that, I'm seeing the point of these things. It's just not, again, execution is not happening. Before leaving the apartment, Sophia insists Victor not come along, making Oz her driver again, quote, like old times. So I like that she kind of has her, her foot on his neck the whole episode. Like, no, I'm still in power. You are not running things yet. I am still, kind of the princess of the Falcone family, soon to be queen, hopefully, in her mind. The power dynamics between these two, the whole episode of, it's fun seeing Oz have to eat shit from this woman. Most of the episode is the point. We arrive at the, Bliss processing plant. So this is the new drug that they were talking about. Sophia continuing once again to remind Oz that he knows much less than he thinks. We see compounds of the new drug are coming from Arkham Asylum. We see Arkham Asylum like on the labels of these bags of things that are being brought into this processing spot. Sophia reveals why she brought Oz, which is that she wants him involved in finding her a distributor for Bliss, but without the Falcone higher-ups knowing about it. So, as we saw last episode and this episode, especially these two teaming up, but at the end of last episode, Sophia's like, I'm going to take out these men who think that they can run my life, and I'm going to become the queen, essentially. So we're now seeing her plan, at least, to uneasily trust Oz. Even she doesn't trust him, but she's kind of giving him a new assignment. Who knows what she actually has up his sleeve? But she's like, I just like her performance when the two of them go back and forth about, their plans, because you can't trust either of them. She's out of her mind. He's the penguin. So, back at Oz's apartment, Victor lets in his friend/girlfriend, Graciela, who we met in the Flood prologue earlier. Not the best actor/performance from this girl, but good for her for landing this role, I guess. Graciela plans to leave town, invites Victor to come with her to California. Victor agrees. So you don't really believe him, and he's not sure if he believes himself, but he at least has her convinced that he's going to come along. The whole night then is both us and Graciela kind of waiting for a confirmation as to whether Victor's actually going to leave with her to California, which we revisit later. Pretty good scene after this between Johnny Vitti and Sophia at the Falcone mansion. Like, I did like this stuff. Vitti doesn't give a crap, man. This guy, and I don't have the name of the actor in front of me, but he was featured in one of the interviews for episode 2, and he does such a good job. He was on House of Cards, and he's just such a great underboss. I think this actor is impressive with not overplaying. These mob guys are easy to overplay, but he barely does like a New York type accent. He's, speaking of like the class within these criminals on the show and Gotham City, he's at like the highest end of, mob / people. So it's cool to see a guy though that isn't doing the thick New York accent. This guy just says it as it is. Great interview. Like I said, on that official podcast. And he goes, I love it. He goes, take an effing hint. Look, honey, I know you're not right. I know you're not right in the head. That's pretty damn clear. Like, he's got balls saying that to Sophia Falcone. He just, as I said, does not care. All I see is a spoiled brat who got what she deserved. 2 days, you go to Italy, or I tell people that's where you went. Or that's what he said. I tell people that's where you went. He ain't playing. Like, they told Sophia last episode, Luca Falcone told Sophia to get out of town before, and Johnny Vitti is, again, the underboss. He's right there going, we weren't kidding. Like, if your uncle tells you to go to Italy, go to Italy. Take a hint. After this, we get this great shot of Gotham. Like, more of that while we're waiting outside the Triad building. And then Victor has this thing with the cops. But I just thought it was a great cityscape. For the superhero budget type thing, I just want more of that and more superheroes. Great shot of Gotham. VFX guy, visual effects guy was on the new episode of the official pod. Victor pays off a cop who's about to arrest him. Like I said before, that was a pretty good scene. I liked how Victor thought on his feet. The cop takes him out of the car. He's like, what are you doing? This is a pretty nice car for a kid like you. We see that the Bliss is in the bag next to him. So you're like, oh crap, he's got a bag of, and why is there a bag, unzipped bag of drugs while they're outside the triad? That made no sense. So like, how is this bag not in the trunk? Rule number one, if you ever, not to give you tips on transportation of these things, but maybe try the trunk first. Don't have an unzipped bag. Anyway, you have, and Victor's like, what money? Because he finds a wad of money on him. It was a good line. It was a good little gangster moment. I like that. Sophia and Oz are inside talking to the triad underboss, looking for Bliss distribution. So basically the sell here between the two of them, and again, this is when they're teaming up, is going, we have an okay from the Falcone family, but we need your distribution for this new drug. And the guy's like, no way. Like, unless I get at least Johnny VD or up, word from them that it's okay. Because again, Johnny VD, underboss, there's no way we can help you guys distribute this new drug. And they're like, no, we have the okay, Johnny VD. And the guy's like, bullshit, you do. So this is them acting as if they do, and, acting on their feet, essentially. I kind of like their back and forth here. More of that. Actually, we're not going to get any more of that. Spoilers, as we'll get to soon. Then we have the restaurant scene with Victor and Oz. It's good. The stutter thing, I do like. It's an interesting thing to have Penguin with another guy with a disability, and he's like, make them wait for you in a stutter, because the waiter, made him say steak frites, kind of like was hurrying him up. And I it was good. Just as much as I'm trying to compliment the show, I do like it. I like it. It's just this character, I don't see what it does for ultimately the Penguin. Like, how does this help one of our top 4 Batman villains? But okay. But we find out why they're there, because Oz approaches a woman at the restaurant. Cut to Sophia and Oz catching Johnny VD with this same woman. I'm assuming it was the same exact woman. Either way, it was a setup for Sophia and Oz to catch Johnny VD in the act with Luca's wife. Not good, the boss's wife. So they threaten VD with blackmail in order to get the okay for the distribution, like we were talking about before with the triads. Nightclub, this is night 1 of distribution of Bliss. So they got the okay, they're ready to go, blackmail or not, from Johnny VD to the triad boss. Sophia probes Oz that he might be gunning for more than he lets on. Oh, sorry, first, so night 1 of distribution of Bliss, what's important we see before that, Oz is kind of like heading the team of women who are also headed by his girlfriend, I forget her name, Eve, I think, and Eve's got her team of girls who we assume are also probably SEX workers, if I can say that on YouTube, but if YouTube can spell, I'm not sure if AI can spell yet, but yeah, and they're helping to distribute, because Oz is like, you're the greatest salesman I've ever seen. So the 4 of them fan out in the club to sell on the dance floor the Bliss drug. Once again, Sophia probes Oz that he might be gunning for more than he lets on. She's like, I see right now you and I are working together, but I can kind of tell you want more. I love their uneasy friendship this whole time. Uneasy partnership, really, not friendship. Victor as the bagman of the operation. So he's the guy who is carrying all the drugs, and then when the girls run out after selling them on the dance floor, they're going to go to Victor. That's the plan, to re-up, essentially. Excuse me. Victor has a PTSD flashback of the bombs going off right on the floor of the nightclub. So again, the bombs going off that released the seawall, everything from the beginning of the episode is flashing back to him from the lights of the club. I thought that was kind of a reach. Again, this is a superhero show. I think there could be more action, number 1. I kind of had that beef with episode 2. This could have more action. I don't need action every 5 minutes, but it's like, it's not just a gangster show, or it shouldn't be. Could up it with some more action. And even some gangster shows could have more action, including this. And so it's like, how about a real explosion goes off and then he has PTSD? It was just a stretch for me. My point, it was a stretch just to be getting PTSD from lights at a club. Like, that didn't seem like enough of a trigger, but okay. He's also possibly still leaving with Graciela at this point. Like, she's, as I mentioned before, she's still waiting for a text reply at the bus stop for her to for them to leave for California. Upstairs at the club, Sophia is talking with the head of the triads, because we're now at the boss level since we got the fake okay from Johnny VD, the blackmailed okay. revealing her own history with the Bliss drug at Arkham. So it's revealed to us that Sophia's involvement with, we saw the Arkham bags again, and we're like, oh, maybe it was just because she has people there because she went there. She also took this drug, we find out in this scene. So she talks about how it, as the title of it, Bliss, you're submissive, super happy. Hate to do this again. We then get into this monologue. It's actually pretty good. And she's like, this is what this city needs. Because this is her sales pitch to have them distribute, is going, this is going to make you a ton of money. I know that because look at your market. So she like points out at the dance floor. She's like, their city is flooded. There's crime everywhere. And at no point in this monologue does she bother saying, and they're looking to a guy dressed like a bat for justice. You can't just say it. Can't do it. All right. Outside the club, Oz and Sophia talk. They clear the air about him screwing her over while she was in Arkham. It's revealed that there's some kind of history between them that we didn't know until this episode. While she was in Arkham, Oz kind of, I guess, took over some of her operations. There's some kind of beef where he screwed her over, and they're clearing the air about this. And then he gets into this emotional speech about the American dream. Again, another monologue where you could have at least said, and I'm scared shitless of this bat guy out there. Nothing. Then we get a surprise appearance from the Arab Maroney lady. The Maroney, the wife / girlfriend, I don't know if it's his girlfriend or his wife, I think it's his wife, of Maroney, again, is this Iranian Arab woman with that frog voice who we met in the prison. She rolls up at gunpoint with like 3 soldiers and was like, did you really not think I was following you and would find out about this stuff? So that's pretty cool that she finally, it's revealed to her, the secret's out about Oz is what I'm trying to say. So the 2 of them are being held. Sophia doesn't know what the hell is going on because for all she knows, even though she doesn't trust Oz, he's still on her side. But at this point, it's clear that he is not on her side, or she's just very confused. She's like, what is going on? But yeah, this is probably confirmed at this point. He and Sophia are now at war. So it's like, what the hell are we going to do? Everyone's confused. Victor sees this from the Maserati, from the Plum Maserati. Oh, and this is after what's important to say, kind of wrapping up this whole story, that Victor also had this American dream thing tying into Oz's story. And again, this whole thing about class in this episode is that he had the opportunity to get a better life, even though it wouldn't be higher paid or the status, at least in terms of, in gangster terms. But Victor getting a taste of this through this natural disaster, because he happened to be poor at the time, no resources, turned to crime. Now he's gotten a taste of that. A lot of this, again, comes from the interviews that I saw. But anyway, so he goes to the bus station, sees Graciela off, well, doesn't see her off, doesn't show up, watches her get on the bus from the Maserati. And so he is not going with her to California. And, there's a bunch of multiverses, one of the actors said in the interviews, where most of the multiverses, he probably went with her. In this one, he does not. And that's what makes it interesting to watch. That's what he said. I don't know how interesting this kid is to watch. But anyway, there it is. And he's back at the club, sees Oz and Sophia at gunpoint, and then runs over these 2 soldiers, which was pretty badass. The airbag explodes. Oz, he comes back into consciousness, and Oz is like, let's get the hell out of here. And he's like, what about Sophia? He's like, leave her. Because again, at this point, she's going to know what's going on. It's cat's out of the bag. And that is the episode. That is episode 3, Bliss. I don't know. Not recommended, I guess. You got to watch it. It's hard to recommend and not recommend episodes of a TV show because you have to watch it. I think it's okay. Maybe saying not recommended is not. But I said okay about episode 2. And this is the Batman stuff aside. I just think even for a gangster show, I think once again, the Victor problem, let's call it, is too high, and they put way too much focus on this character. I understand. Again, I watch all the interviews, listen to all the podcasts. I still don't agree, let's say. I get it. You're very smart people. You're doing a good job for what you're trying to do. But you're not, I think this is where you're not pulling off. You're doing a good job in other departments beside this Victor character, and you're deciding to give him a whole episode. Like Laura LaFranc said in one of the interviews, the showrunner, this is Victor's episode. I don't think this character needs an episode. But that's it. Finally, as always, we have our Batman Beyond documentary coming up. So stay tuned here at the channel, youtube.com/@BDavidStudios. Please subscribe. Stay tuned for behind the scenes stuff coming for that. We have all our classic interviews with Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, Will Friedle, a bunch of people, Andrea Romano, cast and crew from Batman Beyond. We're doing some new interviews, and then I have a really talented local cinematographer. We're going to have at my local comic shop is where we're going to shoot it. It's going to look gorgeous. Cannot wait. So stay tuned again for all that here at the YouTube channel. And then my Megalopolis, you can't really call it a review. I walked out of Megalopolis. So it's weird to say that because as I keep saying, Megalopolis is the movie that built this channel. I sat through an hour and a half of it because of all the videos. I would have walked out an hour before that. But if you want to at least watch my thoughts on me walking out, it's here in the YouTube channel.